Minnesota without Ant-Man, 125-113, and they're down 3-2 in this series, and it does feel like momentum, obviously, without Anthony Edwards playing. Courtney Cronin in for Chris Canty, Michelle Smallman today. Evan Cohen with you. Clearly a swung in the direction of Denver in this series, you would think.
Yeah, and it was nice to see
Minnesota team.
It was nice to see Nikola Jokic show up again, the way that we know him to be a triple-double playoff performer. The way he was in game one.
No question.
He had not been that same guy until last night.
One other quick little slip in, because Courtney and I are both heated on it, and I think you're going to see it a lot today. Ja Morant of the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson Jr., formerly of the Grizzlies, now with the Utah Jazz, went to this game in Orlando last night for Orlando and Detroit, and they went to clearly support their ex-teammate Desmond Bane, who did lead the Magic in scoring, and Ja did his gun celebration. Is that the best way of describing it?
Yeah, it's just foolish.
The fake gun celebration.
Shooting on the sideline. He was sitting courtside.
Which he's been fine before, and he's had troubles with that. And as a fan, as a spectator, he did that to celebrate Desmond Bane last night. Just unbelievably short-sighted, immature, and this is not, for Courtney nor I, a gun conversation. This is a grown man who's been penalized for something, continuing to do the same thing he's been penalized for.
Who claims that he's learned from it, that he's a changed person, and
this could have been anything. If he was fined for wardrobe and he wears that same bad wardrobe, whatever it is that whatever the celebration is, whatever the thing you're fined for, continuously doing it is just an immature act.
I just don't know if they can do anything now because he's a spectator.
Well, I guess we're going to find out, right? I mean, you're probably right, but I have a feeling it was all over the internet over the last, 12 hours or so. All right. We mentioned a dramatic NFL team. The Philadelphia Eagles are always drama. Now, drama could also lead you to a Super Bowl appearance and multiple Super Bowl wins. So it's not always a bad thing, right? We talk about them because they're really good at football. We talk about them because they're really well run. We talk about them because they and the Seattle Seahawks, more than any teams in the NFL over the last 20 years, somehow, some way, have found a way to get to and win Super Bowls with different coaches and different quarterbacks. It's not just Brady and Belichick, and it's not just Mahomes and Reed. They have done it multiple ways. Last year, things just went wrong. So wrong for them at the end that Jeff Stoutland, this iconic offensive line coach that everyone in Philly loved, decided, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to walk away. Well, yesterday, he made an appearance on the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelsey. Jason, of course, his former center and our ESPN teammate. And Jeff Stoutland, who's been there forever, until now, discussed what went wrong in 2025 with the Philadelphia Eagles.
What happened last year, just in general? Like, what was the reason for the struggles in your mind? I don't know. What went wrong last season with the Birds?
Well, I think anytime things don't go well, and I don't want to sound like I'm on like in an interview but yeah, it's the truth. It's execution, and it's calling the right play at the right time and not running bad plays into bad defenses.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't that hard. Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and make up all these. That's pretty much it.
Right play at the right time and not running the wrong play into bad defenses. Courtney Cronin, your day job is covering the Chicago Bears. You've covered the NFL forever. Translate what he's really saying there, please.
Kevin Patullo was terrible at his job.
That's the former offensive coordinator. Okay, if the former offensive coordinator is terrible at his job, he's brought in by the head coach. The head coach, Nick Sirianni, is an offensive guy. And I must preface this by saying Nick Sirianni has been a great head coach in the NFL. Numerically, through the roof. Super Bowl champion. The guy's had a phenomenal start to his career numerically. Is this a bigger indictment on Sirianni than even Patullo?
It is now if it continues this way because his hand-pick offensive coordinators never called plays before, that being Sean Mannion. Last year, you can pass the buck. You can say Kevin Patullo was with the organization for a long time. We expected that his jump from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator would have been a lot smoother than it was. You get a year pass for that. I mean, they still made the playoffs. They lose in the wild card round, but they were there. This year, if that same thing happens, it's a direct reflection back on the head coach because of who his choice was to replace the offensive coordinator he got wrong in 2025. Right now, those comments are what we all know that the city felt, that the fan base felt, that the team felt. But to hear it from a former coach who, an offensive coordinator handles a lot of the run game. A offensive line coach handles a lot of the run game. and putting that game plan in place for the offensive coordinator to have a menu of plays to choose from. It truly is, at least in most teams, good teams, a collaborative process where you have bits and pieces of the game plan put together to where the OC then has a menu to organize everything and call the right play. To hear somebody with this blunt and this direct criticism of saying something that is just so elementary, sometimes you don't call a bad play into the wrong defense and calling the wrong plays at the wrong time, that's showing that there was some level of disconnect and, frankly, some lack of control on offense that falls on Kevin Patullo. Now, if that continues, that's a direct reflection right back onto Nick Sirianni as somebody who doesn't have control over his offense truly in his operation, even though he's not the one calling plays.
Let me just work in extremes here. The comments that Jeff Stoutland, now former offensive line coach, for the Eagles, made to Travis and Jason Kelsey, New Heights podcast yesterday, you think are talking about Kevin Patullo?
Yes.
Okay, no problem, and I think you're right. Let me work in extremes. If he's saying it's not that hard, we're calling the wrong plays at the wrong times. If it's 3rd and 1 from the 50-yard line and Kevin Patullo runs a Hail Mary, why is Nick Sirianni not saying, that's the wrong play? What are we doing here? Obviously, that's extreme, but you get what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. I think there was that sort of course correct. Remember the Buffalo game? The game that they won by 1 point in late December?
Rainy game?
Yeah, awful, ugly, up in Buffalo. That was supposed to be where Nick Sirianni was pulling back some control here, that we're going to do this thing collectively. We're going to try to get this offense back on track. And it resulted in, I think it was 13 points total. Like, he did step in. Clearly, it was too little, too late. Now, it can't even get to that point. He set himself up to have no wiggle room for this thing going wrong because of how bad it looked. In a year, they still made the playoffs.
Yeah.
But how bad it looked, because the expectation, once you've made it to the Super Bowl, once you have created the play that beats 31 other teams in the tush push, and you're supposed to be able to execute it better than anybody else in the NFL. You're supposed to have all these cheat codes because you have Saquon Barkley, you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Obviously, A.J. will be on to a different team at some point, but you had a super team on offense, and it didn't work. And now you have no excuse, even with the personnel changing, to ever go back to a level where what was happening last year is deemed acceptable.
And by the way, I want to be very clear on something. I believe they made the wrong hire at offensive coordinator.
That was Sean Mannion.
And the reason I say that,
I do too.
Inevitably, he will only be there for 1 year. Because he'll either be really good and become a head coach or not as good and get fired with Nick Sirianni after a year.
I think that's a hard thing, though, for a team like the Eagles.
No, it's not. Frank Reich. That's the answer.
You would have brought him back as the offensive.
I would have brought him back because you know what he's not going to be?
Would he have wanted to go back?
Versus going to the Jets?
I'm just saying.
I would hope
unceremonious firing. So. You think you would want to go back there?
I mean, versus going to the Jets? I know the Jets have upside right now. The point is this. The Eagles are in a really weird spot because they've been unbelievably successful. And time after time, and Canty, give him credit on this, has called out how messy the Sirianni management of all of this seems to be. Now, maybe he is just someone that thrives in chaos. Maybe the chaos is his energizer, right? But this, what Jeff Stoutland, as credible a coach as could be, is telling us is what you said is correct. The offensive coordinator was bad. But the offensive coordinator seemingly made mistake after mistake after mistake that the head coach didn't fix. The extreme ownership is the person in charge is in charge of everything, right? If you and I stink today, that's our fault. But ultimately, it's Nuno and Justin. Ultimately, other people are responsible for us.
Sure.
Nick Sirianni is responsible for the offensive coordinator, and it went so wrong last year that this guy's just like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. And this is a Super Bowl winning OC. If you think that's dramatic in Philly, we have a major potential scandal on our hands in college football. We will get to that next.